Welcome back to Humber News. It may sound backwards, but putting your name on a daycare waiting list before giving birth has become increasingly common. Hyde Park residents met to discuss Toronto's inability to keep up with a growing demand for childcare. Samantha Martin has more.
Residents and childcare workers of Parkdale High Park gathered at Bishop Morocco High School to discuss Ontario's childcare issues.
Minister to say childcare has to be in our budget.
Hosting the event was area MPP Sherry DeNovo, who expressed her concerns with Ontario's daycare system.
Absolutely. Well, again, it's not a cost, it's an investment. The Quebec model, where you can get daycare for $7 a day and 70% of the children have a space, has shown that it actually pays for itself.
Problem is, we don't have enough daycare.
High Park City Councillor Sarah Doucette attended the meeting and spoke about the municipal government's lack of assistance with childcare.
We're lacking daycare space. We have great programs. We do have some wonderful daycares. We have not-for-profit and we have for-profit. But we need more spaces.
Residents expressed their frustration on Ontario's childcare costs, which are the highest in the country and have the most limited spaces. Many say they join daycare waiting lists while trying to get pregnant just so they can be assured a spot. Lisa Bobro says she is worried she won't be able to find or afford childcare before her daughter turns 1.
Yeah, it really is like having to win the lottery in order to get your child into daycare. That's ridiculous. So I just want it to be heard.
And so that's where we're at in Ontario. And what's stupid about it is this is really penny wise. This is, because the Quebec, it's no longer an experiment. It's a reality. It's been going on for a number of years, long enough to show that it actually pays for itself.
After the meeting tonight, it is clear that Ontario residents are tired for how much they are being charged for childcare compared to other provinces in the country. For Humber News, I'm Samantha Martin.
Many people remember their first trip to the zoo, but soon children around the High Park area may have to travel a little bit farther to have that first experience. The High Park Zoo is one of the main attractions in Toronto's Parkdale High Park neighborhood. The zoo attracts thousands of people of all ages. Earlier this year, City Council voted on Toronto's 2012 budget. In order to save money, funding was cut for the zoo. Over 6,000 people signed a petition in support of the zoo, some as far away as Scarborough.
It's not just my community, it's a whole citywide zoo. And they're going, how can you cut it? It's only $227,000 a year. How can you cut this?
The zoo cannot charge admission because of an 1890 agreement with the family who gave the park to the city. Instead, they are relying on donations to raise the necessary money. The zoo will likely stay open until December this year thanks to a private donation of $50,000.
Almost a century has passed since the mysterious death of influential Canadian artist Tom Thomson. To this day, curious admirers of Thomson's work are still looking for answers. More from my co-anchor, Stephen.
To tell a great Canadian unsolved mystery, Professor Gregory Kalijas spoke to students and teachers at Guelph Humber University. Kalijas spoke about the Tom Thomson tragedy and the theories on how he could have died. Thomson was a Canadian artist in the early 20th century who mysteriously died after taking a canoe trip on Canoe Lake in Algonquin Park in July 1917. The official ruling of his death was accidental drowning. However, many speculate other theories such as murder or suicide. Kalijas explains what makes a great unsolved mystery.
It isn't necessarily that the mystery is a whodunit, that we don't know who did it, but it can also be something like we're not entirely sure of the explanation for why something occurred.
Media studies teacher Margaret Mercer says she's always been interested in the Thomson mystery.
The whole concept that there might have been a mental health issue and that we know that sometimes great artists and writers suffer from this kind of depressive personality that might drive their art, but also the mystery.
During his speech, Kalijas showed the website CanadianMysteries.ca, where people could find extra info on the Thomson story. Kalijas personally believes that Thomson was neither murdered or committed suicide, but did accidentally drown. For me, I don't know what to believe. That's what makes the Tom Thomson tragedy a great unsolved mystery. Stephen Donkers, Humber News.
Tim Hortons created a buzz when they announced their new cup sizes earlier this year. The popular chain introduced a new extra-large cup that holds a whopping 24 ounces of coffee. While this may please Java lovers, health experts are worried about the Canadian caffeine consumption. Nutrition consultant Leanne Henwood-Adam says too much caffeine in a day is detrimental to health, especially for young students.
Sometimes what happens is that you're going to get that amount of caffeine in your body, and you can't keep it up forever.
The larger cup will contain more than half of the recommended daily dose of caffeine. Long before you were thinking about it, stores were already deciding what you would be purchasing this spring and summer. Back in winter, retailers attended the Toronto Gift Show, hosted by the Canadian Gift and Tableware Association. They placed orders with distributors for new and hot products to entice consumers during the warmer months. Amber Doherty has the story.
Located on Queen Street East, Adornments on Queen is a new boutique with a European chic design aesthetic. Owner and buyer Barbara Stewart is always looking for unique items to set her store apart. That's why she attends Toronto's gift show. In fact, just less than 3/4 of the products she sells are ordered from vendors at the show. Barbara says attendance is important for a number of reasons.
Number one, to see what the trends are. Number two, to, of course, capture new product. Book it ahead before it's sold out.
The 5-day event showcases products from over 1,000 exhibitors and attracts over 16,000 buyers. It's a frantic rush for buyers as they try to see everything in the 1.3 million square feet of showroom space. It's also an important event for exhibitors who use it to attract new customers. Some have been setting up displays for years.
Oh, we've been here many years. Being in this business, you have to know the CGTA.
Michael Rackmel has been coming to the CGTA for a few years as a buyer. He owns a specialty loose-leaf tea shop called Tea Lish on Queen Street West. But this year, instead of wandering the aisles, he's sitting in a booth. He wasn't sure what the experience would be like.
Since this is our first time exhibiting at the show, we were kind of wondering how we would stack up compared to some of the bigger booths, but you really don't need to be big and flashy to succeed at the show.
The gift show took place at the International Centre and the Toronto Congress Centre in Etobicoke from January 29th to February 2nd. It happens twice a year, the next one taking place in August. So while you're doing your summer shopping, retailers and distributors will already be thinking about Christmas. Amber Doherty, Humber News.
Thinking of writing and recording your own music? The integration of digital technology into guitars and amplifiers could help with just that. Mark Mullen has the story.
For years, musicians and hobbyists relied on analog technology in guitars and amplifiers, putting their trust in big-name brands like Gibson, Marshall, and Orange. The sound was vintage, and these brands became staples of rock and roll. Now, some of these brands are creating all-in-one guitars and amps, but there seems to be mixed reviews. Orange's latest development, the Orange OPC, includes a personal computer system built in for audio recording. Owner and engineer of Calder Audio, Chris Calder, feels the Orange OPC would not be very useful in a professional recording studio.
I don't think it would be very useful. It'd be more aimed towards like the beginning guitar recorder. Well, it's something simple, compact they can take with them, just plug in, turn it on, and they got some software, and that's it.
Gibson Guitars has recently come out with the Firebird X, a digital upgrade from the traditional Firebird. It's equipped with numerous onboard effects and capabilities to make sounds like these. It's like having all these pedals in one guitar. Cosmo Music guitar sales rep Ryan Castleman believes digital guitar technology may not be for serious guitars, but is definitely on the rise.
There's a response with analog and tube technology that you simply don't get out of a digital circuit. But there's no denying the fact that digital stuff has a huge place in the industry.
However, with this kind of technology, the price could increase.
At Cosmo Music here in Richmond Hill, this traditional Gibson Les Paul goes for almost $2,000. The Firebird X made by Gibson with onboard effects goes for almost double that at $4,000. For Humber News, I'm Mark Mullen.
Thanks, Mark. Now let's take a look at sports with Samantha Martin.
Hi everyone. While it was a disappointing season for the Toronto Maple Leafs, their farm team, the Marlies, made it to the postseason. Keaton Robbins caught up with the team right before it clinched its playoff spot.
Despite what many Toronto hockey fans may think, the Blue and White are heading to the playoffs this year. The Toronto Marlies, that is. The Leafs farm team defeated the Lake Erie Monsters in a shootout by a score of 2-1 to push them one step closer to clinching a playoff spot. Marlies head coach Dallas Aikens spoke to the media about the importance of meaningful hockey games coming back to Toronto.
you know, whether it's Mike Zigomanis or Holzer or Kadri or Ryan Hamilton, whoever it is, we want this team to go deep and to go far, and I think we're slowly moving towards that right now.
Although Aikens maintained a reserved demeanor while he was speaking, many Toronto Maple Leafs fans are jumping for joy at the thought of a deep Calder Cup run. Aikens says a good playoff streak will benefit his entire team, but Leafs Nation can't help but pay a little extra attention to budding prospect Joe Colborne. Colborne is tipped to be the Leafs' next big centerman, and he agreed with Aikens' comments on the importance of do-or-die playoff situations.
You know, doing as much work as I can and making sure I'm doing even extra to get back on the roll, and hopefully we finish the year strong and continue our push in the playoffs.
The Marlies head coach also commented on the large amount of support that his team received because of Kids Day. The puck dropped off at 11 a.m., and Aikens said the support the team got from a nearly sold-out Ricoh Coliseum provided an extra boost for his players.
There was a definite vibe out on the ice. The kids bring a lot of excitement, and I think anytime you've got your building full, the players respond.
Marlies head coach Dallas Eakins may not be that pleased that he wasn't selected to replace Ron Wilson as the Leafs' next head coach. But with another playoff berth slowly slipping out of the Leafs' hands, I think Eakins will be fine with another year in the AHL, with massive and important playoff games coming up in April. Reporting inside the Ricoh Coliseum, Keaton Robbins, Humber News.
Humber's basketball alumni came out to cheer on the Hawks as they faced off against their longtime rival, the Sheridan Bruins. Katie Boyven attended the first annual throwback night.
And what a night it was, with the alumni seated on the players' side and joined by over 1,000 fans. Both Humber's men's and women's teams defeated their rivals. Although the women's game got off to a slow start, both home teams managed to finish 11 points ahead. The women ended 76-65, and the men won 84-73 over the Bruins. The rivalry between Humber and Sheridan has been around for many years now, and Jackie Simone says even the coaches recognize it.
Before our coaches told us that enough was enough with this Sheridan always beating Humber, so we took that and embraced it, and we just used it, and enough was enough.
Simone says having the alumni and a full house at the game was the encouragement they needed. It was the first time for the throwback night, but James DePoe says based on the success, it'll probably be a reoccurring event.
You know, a lot of alumni identify with this matchup and this game, and we just were looking to kind of touch base with them and re-engage and just do a nice little night which makes them feel welcome, so hopefully they'll come back to more games.
Right. Staying connected with the alumni is really important at Humber Athletics, and Doug Laurie, who has been keeping in touch with Humber since his graduation in 1991, says basketball has always been an age-old Humber tradition.
Humber College, though, will always be held really near and dear to my heart, and it's the tradition has gotten better.
Not only did both home teams win to secure their spot in the playoffs, but the event also drew one of the largest crowds in Humber's sports history.
As you can see, sports play a huge role in the student life at Humber College. Whether it's as a player or as a fan, once you're a Hawk, you're always a Hawk. Katie Boyven, Humber News.
The Humber men's basketball team features some of the OCAA's most talented offensive threats. That powerful offense is spearheaded by Hawks guard Mark Perrin. And although Perrin's humble demeanor may say otherwise, don't let it fool you, this guy can play. His dunks are feared all throughout the OCAA. Windmills, putbacks, or just flat-out fast break dunks. Mark Perrin is an offensive juggernaut. Perrin says his success comes from the energy he brings to each game.
We're down a couple points, and you know, a dunk goes down, you know, guys get hype, and you know, and the momentum goes up a lot. So I really feel as if it has a lot to do with me, my personality, and just that energy as a team.
Perrin is a leader by example off the court as well. He's continually pushing his limits in the weight room, and he is always the last one out of practice. Although Perrin is making huge strides, Hawks head coach Sean Collins says Perrin still needs to work on his defense.
I love the dunks and everything else. I just, you know, I know that's what he could do when he walked in the door here a year and a half ago. Yeah. We're trying to get Mark into being a more complete player.
It's been a while since Humber has seen a Hawk like Perrin, who can soar and finish with such power. But many of us here at the Humber campus are just hoping that Perrin can stick around for a couple more years. That's all for sports. After the break, we'll go to Katie Boyven for our top entertainment stories.